Hello and welcome to Raise the Bar. Today is February 4th. It's noon on the East Coast time, and I want to welcome everyone from around the world that are tuning in today to hear about how you can raise and elevate and innovate your team to a whole new level of momentum. So for those of you who don't know me or are seeing me for the first time, just some quick introduction. My name is Rhonda Petit. I am a best-selling author, professional speaker, and CEO of 3x5 Coaching, where we help med tech B2B organizations that have medical innovations become the go-to leader in their vertical market. And we help sales leaders help to empower and energize their sales teams to a whole new level of momentum. So I want to welcome you today and thank you for joining us at the Profit Plan webinar series. And today's topic is going to be Raise the Bar. So how many of you out there in the audience right now are ready to raise the bar and become more and have an amazing start to your year? It's we know that yesterday or on Sunday, Puxatani Phil told us that we're going to have 6 more weeks of winter. So we can really use the 6 weeks of winter to really prepare for a big surge in the marketplace. So how this is going to work is I'm going to share some information with you today on how you can raise something called a standard. Now, standard is something that everyone has. The question is, how often are you raising that standard? And really, if you want a difference in your performance, it really can start. One of the biggest catalysts for that is to make a decision that you are going to raise the bar. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you 7 areas to look at as to how you can raise the bar to bring more of your potential to the surface and give you a 30-day plan so that you can get a quick win. So if you're for all of you that are out there, I reward participation. So if you're say I'm all in for this, write in all in the chat. If any of you are out there watching this and did not, for some reason, get your workbook, write workbook in the chat so that I can get over a workbook for you. And you can listen to this as many times as you need to so that you can really walk away with some things that are going to benefit you and the team that you're leading. Because my specialty really is in helping sales leaders empower their teams. I have 25 years of working as a sales leader in sales leadership roles in the med tech industry. I've been in med tech for over 4 decades and really excited to give back and contribute with some of the wisdom that I have so that you all can take the bar further than I ever did. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to bring up some slides to the stage, and we are here at You Want It? Raise the Bar. So this is 7 steps to a 30-day win. Now, standards is what I really want to talk about. And there's a thing about principles, and all of us that are in med tech are into science, right? So there's some scientific principles that I love. In fact, I wrote a book on principles called The Spirit of Selling. And the thing about principles from a physics standpoint is you can apply them anywhere and they hold up as truth, right? So principles are truth. And one of those principles is that you're always getting what you expect. And standards are things that you can set at any time by one mental activity, and it's called a decision. So today I'm going to present to you some ideas that I'd like you to evaluate. I'm not saying you have to accept them. You could reject them. But if you at least come to this with an open mind about an idea to get you a quick win and entertain some of these ideas, I promise you some of those ideas could change your life. So the first principle about standards is that you're always getting what you expect. And if you are someone, so we're all spiritual beings having a physical experience here in the marketplace. We go to the marketplace to contribute our gifts, right? We all have God-given talents. And when we go to the marketplace, contribute gifts and have meaning and show up and help people get what they want, what they're desiring by sharing our gifts, we have a state of joy and fulfillment. And joy and fulfillment and love is the most powerful energy in the world. Now, what can happen is there's two things that if you have your notebook, you want to write these down, that are always going on. So there's entropy, which is a science term, which we know, that states everything is constantly falling back into a state of disorder. What's the good about that? The good about that is it always gives us new opportunities to create something to help solve a problem. However, entropy is very fast and it can come into your organization, and how it comes in is through neglect. So if you're a sales leader and you don't actively take notice to standards and don't actively decide that you're going to raise them every year with your team to grow, to give yourself opportunity for perpetual growth, which is what your soul wants. Your soul always wants to grow and expand its gifts and create and learn and gain more awareness. So if you're a leader and you're setting high standards for your team and you set them on a regular basis, you're going to cause growth. And those standards that you expect are what you're accepting, and that's bringing all your results. So if there's any results that you're not particularly enjoying right now, good news is those results are from yesterday's thinking, and today's an opportunity to make a change because you can be the cause. If you don't ever demand anything more than what is from your team, you're going to lose a state of expectancy and faith because entropy is going to happen. See, entropy is driven by neglect, by not paying attention to it. Now, on the flip side to that, there's something called energy, which is all driven by intention. The thing I'll tell you about energy, though, is intention takes investment and it's not instant gratification. So energy is driven through intent. And if you're intentional with what you want to set as your standards, you're going to create a lot more energy and create a compound effect over time with your team that's really going to drive your performance to any level you want to. If you're accepting anything less than you deserve, you want to examine your standards as well. But the key thing I love about standards is that you don't think about things outside of you, right? You look at the person on your team and you see the capability within them. And you encourage more of that capability to come out when you set standards at a higher level. Okay? So that's just some background on standards. The next word I really want to delve into is your awareness, because awareness is the name of the game of life. If you think about, who you are your awareness. You're not Tom, or, you may have a name. Your physical body may have a name. People may call you by a name, but what you truly are is your awareness, because your awareness is your ability to remember your experiences, etc. And as your awareness grows and your wisdom grows, your success grows. And if you want to continue to elevate yourself, you want to grow your awareness. I think it was who was it? In the Bible, it says, in all getting, if you want to get something, get understanding. And it was King Solomon that was rewarded because he didn't ask God for riches or anything. He asked for more wisdom. So the awareness that can grow and expand is something that's part of the gift of raising standards, because as you raise standards, what you're going to see is you're going to be able to see the innate capability of your team, and you're going to be able to empower more of that power to come up to the surface. They're going to feel good because they're growing and expanding. You're going to create much more energy in your marketplace when you're out talking to customers, and that energy is going to attract clients. So The way to innovate and elevate, one of the fastest ways that you can do in 30 days is to look at your standards. What have you been accepting up to today? And then what are the things that you want to up level? And what that means is you let go of something of a lower nature and you trade up for something of a higher nature. And when you do that, you're going to be greatly rewarded. So I'm going to talk about the big seven standards for achieving your financial goals. So is everybody ready? So say amen. You're ready in the chat. Get your pens and paper out because I'm going to give you 7 things, 7 areas where you can really examine your standards and decide that you're going to make some changes there. And all it takes, like I said, is one mental activity to decide. Now, choosing is not the same as deciding. I'm talking about the decide that's a commitment. It's decide means to cut from. So it's like scissors, like letting go of the old and saying, no longer is this acceptable. Now this is the way I'm rolling. Okay, so that's different than choosing, where you say you want to pick something, but you're not really committed to it. So one mental activity will change the game for you you and your team if you adopt this. Okay, what are the 7 standards that you want to examine? Number 1, attitude. Does anyone when you think of attitude, what do you think of? Because attitude is an energy force. There's a law of vibration that says we are all vibrating on different frequencies. And depending upon the frequency that you're putting out, it's pulling things in. So the law of attraction works from the law of vibration. And the determining factor for that law of attraction is what you're putting out into the universe. Like, how do you show up? How does your team show up when they come to work? Are they jumping off are they just so excited that they can't wait to get to work and they're out there rocking it? Or has something caused them to slow down that momentum? So when you think of attitude, it's very easy. Most people know, have heard of positive mental attitude or whatever. And positive mental attitude is easy when everything's going great. What takes mastery is to do it when things appear not to be so hot. So what I mean by that is, can you bring your 10 out of 10? If you have a scale 1 to 10 on your attitude, where you can have your attitude being the best ever, and your employees being the best ever, the opportunity lies is how do you and your team hold up that attitude and keep that 10 standards steady when things outside of you don't go your way. And if you think about attitude as the energy out and the frequency that you're operating with, the saying that I've always heard about attitude is it's mirrored until it's mastered. And those that master the attitude, and this is just a standard, a standard of what's the energy I'm going to bring no matter what. Now, attitude can be energy towards people, circumstances, or a philosophy, belief. Let's say your organization comes down with some sort of a new policy. That's like an example of a philosophy. You may or may not agree with it. Circumstances are the things on the outside of you that are happening in the marketplace. What's your attitude towards those? Other people that you have to interact with, the world works best in a state of harmony and cooperation. Do you have any resistance in the people, circumstances, or philosophies? And if you do have any resistance and you're in a state of battle instead of bliss, that's the easiest place to resolve your problem the fastest. Every time that I hit some challenge in my, life, I always ask myself, okay, what's my attitude going out? And what am I expecting? Because your attitude also is your state of expectation of what you think is going to happen. And am I in a state of battles or bliss? And if I'm in a state of battle, I have to ask myself, what is it that I'm resisting? And then let it go and look for the good so that I can get myself back into a bliss. And it's that kind of mentality and that kind of mindset and that kind of culture in your organization that's going to help you soar. Because if your team, if you as a leader have standards about always looking for the good in every situation and finding it and seeing opportunity, which appears to be dressed up in different clothing, but it's actually an opportunity to create something new, then you're going to be in a state of high momentum and you're going to move forward. And you're going to achieve your goals. But if you get bogged down in the resistance of fighting what is, you're going to have some struggle, and your attitude is not going to bring you what you want. So, for example, I used to tell my team, okay, like you'd have some people that wouldn't get their expense reports in, and I would say to them, okay, well, what's your attitude towards expense reports? And then they would just grumble about it, right? And so, what would happen if you changed that attitude, or you looked at, the fact that you're helping the company because you're getting your expenses in on time, and we're able to do our books on a monthly basis and have accurate numbers for our profit margins, et cetera, like that. But not only that, you're getting your money back in the bank where it can grow interest. And in flipping somebody's attitude like that, anything that anyone's resisting is always an attitude issue that can be turned around, because your attitude has the ability to transmute any circumstance, because there's a law of polarity that says there's always a positive and a negative to everything in life. Otherwise, the circuit, this is just physics, right? The circuit wouldn't be complete if you didn't have the question is, where's your attention go? Does your attention go to the positive, or does your attention go to the negative? And it's one or the other. And wherever that attention's going, you're directing your energy. And then what you're putting out is coming back to you. So the fastest way to change anything in your life, especially when you're going after big, hairy financial goals for 2025 for your business, is to check your attitude. So that's number one. So give me an amen if you think that you have you could take your standard on attitude and what you're going to demand from yourself and from your employees to a higher level. Just give me an amen. All right, so that was number one. And if you have your notebook, you would have gotten a notebook like this. Again, if anybody didn't get their workbook, just write workbook in the chat and we'll get it over to you. But you're going to see that there's a ladder on the page, and that ladder is going to give you an opportunity to write in these 7 things. All right, moving on. Apologies. Okay, second thing you want to analyze is your results. So the results you have today, what you want to look at is, so that, again, we're talking about raising the bar. So where are my results today? What's my present state? And where do I want to be? So between where you are and where you want to be, there's a gap, right? And there is a frequency, again, that really contributes back to that attitude of what you're putting out to what you're getting back in. And so when you analyze results for standards, you have to say, am I happy with those results? So for example, some organizations expect their team to be making sales every day. How many of you out there expect a sale every day? Just say amen if you do. And if you don't, I would want you to write down, why is it that I'm not expecting a sale every day? Maybe it's an issue of, I'm not making enough invitations, I'm not making enough offers. But if your decisions are, you have a gap between where you are now and where you want to be, and most of us at the beginning of the year, we have a gap because we're going to grow our business, right? We got our new quotas, we know what our new targets are going to be, and we're working our processes backwards to do the daily do that's going to get us to that result, right? The first thing you have to make is that one mental activity. Am I going to raise the standards on these results? Because if the standards, have you just been accepting getting by? Have you just been accepting just making your number? Or, because if you're running a team, are you demanding out of your team to be able to bring more of their results to the surface, right? So they have capability. You hired them, they're souls. They may need some intrinsic motivation. And as a leader, it's our job as leaders to really get to the root of what's the intrinsic motivators that will help people get engaged to really go after those results. Because if we're operating at a high level of engagement, we're going to have a high level of energy that's going to draw a lot of people towards our product, solution, etc. So the first thing, if your results are not where they are, you have to write it down. Writing causes thinking. So write down what's my present state? What have I been accepting? And why have I been maybe complacent with those results? And where do I want to be? Right. And what that's going to cause you to think about is, who is the person that I have to become? What are the activities that I'm going to have to do so that my tree will give me the results, the fruits of my labors of the being that person and doing the activities are going to produce the results that I want in my financial results, let's say. So the first mental activity is going to be a decision. The second activity is going to be how are we going to execute? And then that's going to require discipline, right? So there may be standards that you have around your discipline. Then, there's an organized plan. So you write out a business plan. Most of your business plans were written out in December, if not the very early parts of January. And so you go back through that plan and make sure that it's organized, that it's going to produce the end result. And then how do you put the processes in place, right? From working backwards from that future state. If your business is operating at 40 million and you're looking to take it to 60 million, you're not going to be able to do those same processes that you did at 40 million to take it to 60 million. You're going to have a scale strategy in there. So from a strategic standpoint, what are the things that are going to enable your leverage, right? So that, maybe some of it's distribution channels, perhaps it's other ways of getting to the public, maybe on your YouTube channels or your social media or whatever it is, that, maybe there are conferences where you're going to speak in front of many. There's a lot of different scaling strategies that you're employing, right? But that plan, you've got to have the plan to scale, but then you've got to put the systems and the processes in place that are going to increase your likelihood of changing the result. Because if you change nothing in the pattern from what you did last year, whether it's the pattern of your thinking, whether it's the pattern of your speaking, whether it's the pattern of your execution, whether it's the pattern of how many offers you're making, whether it's the pattern of whether you're using leverage or not, if you don't change any of that stuff and you just keep going, as who was it that Einstein said, it's insanity to keep doing the same thing and thinking you're going to get a different result. So what are your standards today for your results? Now I'm talking about you as the leader right now. Okay. So your results from your team, what have you done to, where are you, where, if you look at the team, your teams across all the country, where are you on the scale of the ranking system and where do you want to be this year? And you get to decide because it's your results, because you're the leader of the team. Next one, number 3, if you're working with me. So we went through, the first one was your attitude. The second one was your results as the leader. The third one is analyzing your clients' results. This one's really important, right? Because clients want to go by from they buy consistency, they buy quality, they buy value, and when they're happy, what they do is they help expand your market through satisfaction, referrals, renewals. They want to keep working with you. So if you have a product like consumables or whatever, to keep that, they're going to continue to enjoy that. And the question you have to ask yourself is now, who is my ideal customer avatar? Because you can't be everything to everyone. You got in business for a certain reason, to make a certain positive impact on a certain set of people with a solution that you agonized over, and you figured out a simplistic way to do it, and you're going to make their life better because they desire that state and they want to buy something that's going to get them there. And when you match up the right avatar with the right solution, you're going to have a lot of activity and sales, and you're going to create a state of abundance, right? So where are your customers now? And have we been trying to, again, this is a standard, have we been focused on the I'll call it your flagship offer, right? The stuff, the product that you sell that all clients buy, and everyone that buys it just loves it because it's just the cat's meow for that particular customer segment. Then you want to capture that niche and take that as your beachhead and really saturate that market really well, right? Um, and take them to a whole new level of satisfaction so that they're referring more and more people. And then as you introduce new solutions or you get to know them through customer intimacy more, then you can kind of come up with what is the next problem that they're going to need to solve and obsess over it to come up with a simplistic, elegant solution for them that you can serve them with, because you have certain gifts, your company has certain gifts, and there's certain things that you're bringing to the marketplace, right? So you got to look at, where are my customers now? How many of them give me active referrals? How many of them are renewing? How, are we keeping, once we get the customer on the recurring revenue stream, are we maintaining them? Did anybody fall out of the bucket, and why? Are we able to upsell them or have a path to upsell and renew? Where do I want them to be? So you set a standard. So maybe, you might have a standard that you've never done a customer satisfaction survey for your company, and this year you're going to employ that. That would be an example of setting a new standard. Now we're going to monitor that. Could be a standard that, you expect that, 80%, or, maybe it was 80% of your business was going to renew, and now you're going to take it up to 90. What would it take so that we get 90% renewals? Things like that. So that's an example of a standard that you can examine. Your clients' results, because at the end of the day, that's who your attention needs to be on, because those are the people that are helping by, buying your product and bringing the cash into the organization. Number 4, you're the leader of the team. You're running your organization. And the question you have to ask is, do I have the right players in the right seats on the bus? And are they developing? And do I have, for example, a standard that every year I expect them to do better? I don't expect them to just keep doing their job and stay complacent, just doing what they've been doing for the last 3 or 5 years. No, every year do you have a culture and an expectation where you expect that every year on the review, they're going to take it to the next level? And so that may mean you're making investments in your people. So you're making investments maybe in their training. You're making investments sitting down as a leader to understand their intrinsic motivation. What are the skill sets that they have? What do they do well now? What are the skill sets that they need to develop? So you have development plans for them. And if you think about it, your team's results really come down to the standard of how well are you at driving a mastermind alliance with your team. Because the momentum, you've got to understand, is the momentum of your team and what they're doing being driven from the outside or the inside? And let me give you an example. When in 2003, I believe it was, I worked at a company that had July through December years. And in 2003, it was 2002 to 2003. And there was some financial issues going on, and they did a big cutback on expenses, kind of similar today. A lot of people are doing restructuring, they're reorganizing, etc. And they made an announcement that we couldn't have team meetings. So we were a team that always worked on team meetings because of the mastermind allowance and how are we going to do this next, climb the mountain, the new mountain every year, right? So we decided to take it in our own hands, and we came up with some marketing of some new products. We came up with a theme for a road show. We went and had our own team meetings that we contributed to at somebody's house because we weren't going to not have our meetings. And we got into such a mastermind alliance of having fun, just like taking all these ideas that were coming in of how we were going to overcome the obstacles and really working and sharing those ideas with other people, that we created momentum from the inside. Even though the outside environment of the economy was in the shitter, was in the, it was in a contraction phase. I apologize for that. It was in a contraction phase. We created momentum from the mastermind team from the inside out. Now, as a leader, what does that mean that you have to do? Well, you have to understand all those team members. You may have 10 or 5. I don't know how big your team is. I had, I think, 12 or 13 at the time. You have to understand that all those individual players have certain gifts that they can contribute to the team. And each one of them has their own intrinsic motivation, their own internal motivators that are going to drive their meaning to their work, that are going to drive their autonomy and going to drive their mastery of becoming really well at they're doing. Now, if you're engaged and you're paying attention to that and you're leveraging that, and then you're setting up with them skill sets and development plans, and then you get the whole scope of the whole team together to really figure out how you can leverage those resources to really multiply and get quantum leaps out of it. Now you're in a state where you're really going to raise that state of momentum from the outside into the inside, and you're going to get all this inspired engagement, and it's like a magnet instead of it being demagnetized by things on the outside and everybody being all over the place. You've got everybody kind of pointing north, all in the same direction, working together as a team. Really, that mastermind alliance is like, it's the power in that is like it can maximize your results by multiples of 10xing, right? So the question you want to ask yourself on standards for your team's results is, what are the standards that I've been setting for my team? Maybe you've been a manager for a couple of years. Have you been raising the bar on them every year? Have you been setting the expectation is, look, we always have to get better, and these are the goals, these are the things we're going to set in our standards for our customer results, our results, etc. What are you doing to raise that, and then getting their engagement and buy-in there? So if you haven't done anything on that, that's a great standard area for you to elevate and decide, I'm done with this, like done with just doing the same old, being bored out of my mind. I'm really going to see what I can do to really raise the level of momentum with my team. Okay, the next one, your attire. Now, this may seem like, what do you mean I have to think about how you dress? But the truth is that we're in sales, and first impressions that we have with our team and our clients matter, right? And what you want to do in your, dressing for success, if your business is going from a smaller $10 million business and it's going to be 40 million, and maybe now you're going to be courted by companies that maybe want to acquire you, etc. Are you going to have that small company look, or are you going to dress like you mean business to be an 8 to 10 figure organization that's really going to grow? So taking time to not only look at your attire and say, how have I been dressing? And if I'm going to be the new me that's going to grow and expand and really run an even bigger organization or attain bigger financial results, is there anything I'd want to change in my attire at all? Sometimes, I've done it before where I've gone to like an image consultant or something like that. So And then you talk to your team and you just ask them, what are their aspirations? Maybe some of them want to become a manager or whatever. Well, are they dressing the part and acting the part of the manager, in the way that their attire is? So standards in your attire and how you show up in the marketplace do matter. And the more that you elevate them, the more you're going to bring more of that potential to the surface. All right, the next one, standards. So we're on the productivity, right? So productivity is the sixth standard. The question that, when it comes to productivity and efficiency, that is an element of how well you use your time. And I'm going to throw out something to you that may be something that you agree or don't disagree with, but I want you to explore the idea. So the idea I want to pose to you is that time is actually way more valuable than money because you only have a limited supply of it. And you can always get, money is something that you can always get back quickly if you're scaling and you're expanding and you're doing quantum leaps, but time is something you can't. And so what I would ask you to think about in terms of productivity for you yourself as the leader of the organization and the productivity of your team is, what is the relationship in the culture of our company for time and money? Do we value time as more important than money, or do we value money more important than time? And if so, why? Kind of where are we in the present state? And then if you look to your future state, when it comes to productivity, the question you have to ask yourself is, what's the quantity of output that I'm having? What's the quality of it? And what's the efficiency with which I do my work? So you could think of productivity as a leader from a standpoint of just the basics in sales, right? Like how many consults, contacts, connections, offers, and closes am I doing on a regular basis? And that really is a good one to start with, because if you use the 80-20 rule of what moves the lever in an organization to really create financial results, it's going to be how many times you're contacting people, how many connections you're making, how many consults you're having to talk to people and make offers. And then once you make the offers, how many people are closing on them. So when you're looking at the productivity for your offers, let's say, you may want to examine whether your team is emphasizing perceived value or intrinsic value. What can I do to tweak so that more people that can benefit from my product, that really desire to have the solution that I'm selling, can say yes. So that's a really good way that you can raise standards and look at that. Like, what are the things that I'm going to set as metrics, as key performance factors, critical success factors for the number of consults, connections, offers, and closes that we're going to do. So that's one area. But you can also look at a standpoint, productivity from the standpoint of, do I have the engaged right people in the right seats on the bus, right? Because if you are doing your hiring based upon making sure that you're getting somebody who loves what they do and wants to do what they, do their function. So if you have somebody like me that absolutely loves sales and you put me in a sales arena where, I can go talk to a lot of people, change lives, and, earn a lot of income, I'm going to be all in. And if I'm bought in and believe in the product and have a high level of conviction, my productivity is going to be really high because I love selling. If you put somebody who doesn't love something in some position that they're not enjoying doing, the problem is the energy level is not going to be at high, because number one, if that's not their strength, then it can't be leveraged and grown and expand. And number two is the attitude that they're going to bring with it. It's going to be harder for them if it's not their strength to do that job, which means they're going to be less productive than someone who loves it and is really good at it, and it's an innate gift for them. And they not only, when you hire them, they do the job and then some, because it's just easy for them because it's their strength. So a lot of times from a management or a leader standpoint, thinking about, do I have the people in the right seats on the bus for what we're about to do this year to grow and expand our business, is another area that you can explore. And then, you look at the things about from the standpoint of quality, quantity, and efficiency of the work. And so do you have any practices or metrics in place as part of your standard, so you can monitor that and adjust and, get people to be able to come to the work and contribute what they have to contribute, being in the right role and being in an area where they can grow and expand. So those are some ideas there. And lastly, we come to number 7. Now, I love number 7 for a number of reasons, because number 7 is communication. And when we really have a standard around our communication improving, what you're doing is you're leveraging some of your spiritual assets. Now, what do I mean by that? All spiritual beings have 2 things that the creatures on the planet do not. Does anyone know what they are? 2 things. One is we can talk. So unless you're on a fantasy movie called Dr. Dolittle, where we can talk to the animals and the animals talk back, or you're watching Planet of the Apes, where the monkeys talk or the apes talk, which is fantasy. Right now, today, human beings are the only one with the power of the mouth, right? And so that's a spiritual sign that we're spiritual beings. So that gives us an elevated leverage point, right? And the second thing is that we have the power to create in our imagination and make decisions and choose to go north, go south, go wherever we are. And our traits can change. We can really elevate who we become as human beings, where, a creature has a creature's functions, and they've always had the creature's functions, and they do what the creature does, but that's it. They don't really, of course they may evolve to a certain degree with evolution, but nothing like what the human being can do, because we have an imagination and we have our mouth to communicate. And the question is, how well are you as a leader communicating to your team? And how well is your team communicating to your clients? So is what you're saying easy to comprehend? Is it easy to say it? Is it easy for people to see what you're talking about? And is it easy for people to start to do something with the information that you portray, you've explained? And so if you decide that you want to raise your standards on your communication, you want to look at your present state and look at your present results, because everything that you're communicating now is a reflection of, it's going to be reflected in your results. And if you changed some of that communication and you up-leveled that standard, what could that impact be in terms of leverage to your results? And what I want to impress on you is that that's a spiritual gift that's infinite, that can always expand and grow, and can make a huge difference to, what you communicate over time versus, if you do nothing with that. And so if you look at present state communication of your team and you as a leader, I'll give you another example. As a leader, how well do you communicate your vision to your team on a regular basis? Meaning, in your weekly meetings, in your quarterly meetings, are you vision casting? What's the communication so that everyone's got the buy-in as to where we are and where we're going? When you go to market, one of the statistics about why med tech innovators fail is that there's 2 main reasons that they fail. And one is lack of a simplistic value proposition that people can understand. And number two has to do with their ability to give a proof and evidence-based strategies to support what they're saying. But the first part's really big, because if you're going to market with some new innovation and people can't understand, they don't want to sit there and hear you think. They want to understand, what is this thing going to do for me? So they're more interested in, for example, perceived value than the intrinsic value of how you built the thing and what it does and all the widgets and, the background technical mumbo jumbo stuff doesn't matter. They have a problem and they want to know, will this solve my problem? And, will this be, will this value be worth trading my money or my asset or whatever, or my attention for, to get the solution? So for those of you who are interested, I'll put the quiz. There's a quiz on communication that you can take just to do a quick assessment of where you are today, present state, right? And then the challenge really for the next 30 days is, what can I do to change, to up-level my communication skills to make more impact on people and help motivate and move the masses in a greater way than I did before? So we've just gone through 7 standards that you as a team leader can use today to go start elevating your standards to bring about a different result and achieve your financial goals in 2025. So the question I have is, where will you raise the bar to up-level your standards? So if you are in the crowd right now, and participation is being rewarded, so there's going to be some prizes. If you feel attitude is one that you're going to raise the bar on, put a 1 in the chat. For those of you who want to change your results, the standards about your results, put a 2 in the chat. Who got an aha about what they want for standards on their clients' results? Put a 3 in the chat. And who got some ideas about how they can raise their team standards? Put a 4 in the chat. Anyone that thinks they might want to examine their attire or have some conversations with their team about their attire because it would benefit them, put a 5 in the chat. And for those of you who think that your productivity could be enhanced and you could set some new standards around productivity, put a 6 in the chat. And any of you that believe that you can look into really taking your communication to a new higher level, because it's an infinite gift that can expand and really make major impact, more so than your physical muscles or your delegation ability, put a 7 in the chat. So what I want to challenge all of you to do for the next 30 days, it's February 4th, is do a self-analysis on those 1 through 7. Decide, right? That's the mental activity. The decision is that what I've been doing in this area is no longer acceptable, and I'm raising my standards. That's how quick you can raise the standards, with 1 mental decision. Rank the 7 in order of priority of which ones will make the biggest impact to you in the first 30 days, for you personally or for your team. And then I want you to decide which beliefs, habits, and what kind of new communication you need to take action on to execute on that. So you can make a commitment to yourself, for certain things. If you have a team and you're going to set some new standards, you may say, I'm having a team meeting next week, and we're going to talk about these standards with the team. By week 3, you want to have some KPIs, key performance indicators, that you're starting to measure to see if people are starting to up level to those standards. And by week 4, have a new pattern, a new, habit, and processes are patterns, and patternicity has to change if you want a different result. So if you're really going to raise the bar and raise your results this year, you want to decide, what is that pattern going to be, And how am I going to enforce the pattern with the standards? Because you may have done the pattern part, you may have reversed engineered your processes backwards to make sure that you're putting those in place. But what standards are you getting your team and yourself to buy into? Like, what's no longer acceptable and what's the new standard going to be? And I promise you, I can't wait to hear about your results in the next 30 days. By next month, when we have our next profit plan webinar series in March. So thank you everyone for your attention. I really appreciate it. If anyone would like to talk to me in further depth on this, I'm only a phone call or a DM away. So my information is there. You can book a call on LinkedIn just by going into my profile, and there's a book a call. So let's have a conversation, and I wish you a wonderful February. Go sell heart to heart. And for any of those you that are interested in learning more about this, there's more about this in standards in my book, especially the chapter on going amateur versus pro. So please reach out and have a wonderful day. Thank you.